We're good? All right, we are gonna call this meeting of the ARPA Strategy and Outcomes Commission to order, as it is 1 o'clock. Pretty straightforward agenda today. We're gonna start with, public comments. Is there anybody in the room that wishes to speak? Come on, and if you could, right here would be fantastic.
Sure. Like a busy camera or something? Or-
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Dan Kesselmeyer. I'm the owner of USI Fiber. We deliver fiber to residents and anybody who wants a high-speed reliable internet. We worked with the village of Winnebago last year to connect 14 of their buildings around the village, lift stations, fire department, city hall, police department. And we're working with the city of Amro right now to connect 19 assets around their city. I was talking to the police chief in Amro, and he had mentioned that to do some of their job, they have to VPN into the Winnebago County Sheriff's network. And he said it's kind of a pain in the butt for them because they technology is not their friend in that scenario. So
If I might interrupt, would you define VPN?
I think the definition is virtual private network. I think, yeah, it's
So
essentially.
That's done through the air as opposed to.
It's done over the internet. So like, let's say you had a computer network at your house and I wanted to VPN into that. It would be as if I'm onto your network, but there is a internet connection in between. It's a better security, I guess, you know, rather than me just sending you back and forth files or something like that. But so the police chief had asked if there was a possibility of getting a fiber back into the Winnebago County network. That way they make their network a lot more secure, faster. He says he's doing it today on like a 30 meg AT&T connection or something along those lines, and he said it was fairly accurate. So he had pointed out that there was 2 wireless towers. If you mind passing those around. This map shows our existing network. Everything that's blue and green is active today. Orange is working on it right now. I put some X's over some points of interest. There are 2 wireless towers that I believe that the county operates today. One of them's at Sandpit Road in 21. The other one's at Liberty School and County F. There may be other ones out there that are fed via microwave. This handles the radio traffic as far as I understand. So his comment was if we can get a fiber back into the county, then they could have their own private network back and forth. Our network is 100% underground. Everything is direct fiber back and forth. It's 100% fiber optic. It is the most reliable network that you can possibly build out there. Our speeds out there, we can do 100 gig today, or 400 gig if you wanted it. There's really no limit to what we can do. So we worked with the county and the IDB board in the past. We've been successful with Public Service Commission Wisconsin since 2020. We've gotten 3 grants from them and worked with them to build a ring with that network that you see today. So we wanted to see if there was any appetite with the county at all to pursue a fiber network to connect police departments, fire departments, government buildings back to your guys' own fiber that you have throughout the city of Oshkosh here. Because we're starting, in that blue area where I believe that you guys have fiber up there, and we're ending at a spot where you guys are pretty close to having fiber too. So we've done this with a couple other cell carriers, and the scenario kind of exists of it's a 20-year it's IRU, irrefutable right of use. Your fibers, it's your traffic, it's a secure network for your stuff, but it's in our cable, it's in our duct, so we maintain it. We locate it. If it's ever broken, we fix it. It's our asset that we're leasing to you for X amount. So obviously this was last minute. I just talked to Chuck the other day and Tom the other day, but see if there's a possibility to come back and give you guys a further presentation, then learn a little bit more about what you guys, what assets you guys have out there in the field, if there was any interest in this at all.
Anything else?
Okay, that's it.
Yep, well, the reason when you called me yesterday, I'm Tom.
Okay.
When you called the other day, I said, well, why don't you come here? Well, I know the money is supposed to be appropriated pretty much now, but we have done things with our ITT program and that.
And maybe some of this could fit in there. I won't say all the money spent, because we don't know where, some of our other money is all going to go just yet. And so that's why I had him come and speak to the whole group today, and then from here, if there's any left over or whatever. We didn't say about what this was going to cost or whatever.
Depending on what you guys want to connect it and like with the number of assets out there, somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 for a 20-year lease on those fibers.
20-year lease.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll forward you guys my information and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Anybody else in the room that wishes to speak?
Good afternoon, I'm Scott Sawinski, I'm the Executive Director of Jake's Network of Hope. We are a diaper bank, period supplies, and adult incontinence bank. So we provide those much needed items to residents here in Winnebago County and 11 counties in and around Wisconsin here in the Northeast region. Everything outside of Allegheny County, because there is a diaper bank there that is run by the United Way Fox Cities. I'm here today because I reached out to Tom and just wanted to see if there was any ARPA funding available that we could help the residents of Winnebago County and the city of Oshkosh and the outlying areas, because I have pretty good numbers of what we're serving. And right now, obviously the price of product is going up, but the need is not going down. For the first time, we did a diaper fact study with the National Diaper Bank Network. And by the way, we've also been around for 11 years. So we are well established here in the state of Wisconsin. But for the longest time, it was 1 in 3 individuals needed help with purchasing diapers or period supplies. Unfortunately, with the cost of inflation and everything like that, for the first time ever, we're now at 47% of Americans can't afford diapers to put on their children, which leads to issues with our workforce because people are missing work. It's also really, it's related to the childcare issues too, because families can't put their young ones in childcare. They can't afford diapers. So once again, it relates to the workforce side of things. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that our neighbors, our friends, our family are able to have proper needs for their little ones, for those that are in school and those that are in other areas. So we're trying to make sure that we keep everything going. So that I have some numbers. I know that Tom just basically said I could come here and just present to you. So I just didn't want to take up a lot of your time, but I'm just trying to explore if there's a project that we could align with any remaining ARPA funding that's out there. And I'd be willing to have a nice little proposal and things like that for you.
Would this here be more or less like for the childcare end of it, or?
Yes, because what we're seeing is, well, we want to make sure that families are staying employed. It's not having adequate diapers in a family or household relates to a lot of health issues, and it's also preventing certain people from that house working. And there's a lot of facts that back that up. And we want to make sure that we're keeping people employed, because that's one of the big things that we're trying to do, and just trying to make sure that everybody's living a healthy, safe life in Winnebago County and beyond. Yes.
If I might, do you have an idea of what the demand is, on a per person number, within Winnebago County?
Yes.
For instance, daily, weekly, monthly?
So based off of what our surveys are out there, for what we have for just Winnebago County alone, we will serve 519 families with diapers, 217 individuals that need help with period supplies, 239 individuals that would need adult incontinence or adult hygiene products. And then also be about 300 individuals with, I should say it's 517 individuals with the period supplies. We break it up into school age and also adult. That equals 6,228 individuals in 2024 for the diapers, 2,600 for school girls, 2,800 for adult females or those that are menstruating, and then also 1,008 individuals that will need adult hygiene products.
What's your current funding source?
Right now, we get it through a variety of fundraising opportunities. We have a development director that goes out and personally tries to secure grants and business donations. Even though we have the luxury of having Kimberly Clark in our backyard, We do not get direct funding from Kimberly-Clark as far as product goes. We do get some discounted rates of purchasing diapers through the National Diaper Bank.
Do you have
So-
state funding or federal
We
funding?
do not, that's the big thing right now, we are fighting our tails off, we do not get any federal funding for diaper banks. And there is state funding, we are working right now with Governor Evers' office for the 2025-2026 budget. But there is currently no
And
funding,
what is your annual budget?
800,000.
Thank you.
Just, want to make sure before you leave here today that if you know Doug Guerin, our health director, introduce yourself to him. For I'm very familiar, with Jake's diapers. Very familiar. So you helped us, get over 100,000 diapers out through people during the pandemic.
Yes, absolutely,
Which was fantastic. And I appreciate your mission.
thank you. All right, thank you for your time.
John, how much money have you spent on diapers with your?
Oh, man. We were out of them for 2 months, 3 months there. It was pretty good.
Just curious.
All right, anybody in the room that would like to speak?
Hi, everybody. My name is Barb Tangus. I'm with First by Fox Valley, and usually you see my name up the top up there. Been paying attention, participating for the past few months. And last time you met, there was some questions about if there was duplication of the work that we're doing. And rightfully, that was a question that if you didn't know, that was important to answer. So we met with the Director of Human Services. We had a group meeting of, all of the partners that we work with. And I think it was really clear that we work together. We don't duplicate. We're the safety net when families don't qualify for those other programs, like early intervention or home visiting. There's no eligibility. You can be at any socioeconomic level and still need developmental screenings for your kids, and it's all free. It's offered to them to support their families. And then what we do is also support our partners to help connect the resources. We kind of say we're like a power grid, so I really like the fiber optic idea, because oftentimes there's a lot of resources and parents don't quite know how to access them. Or they're in silos, here's this health part and here's the childcare, and over here we have education. And First Five and Help Me Grow is the link that helps families figure it out. We give warm handoffs and we follow up with families all the way through their child is 5 or when they move to public school or Head Start, wherever they're in. But it's really a safety net for families. And there was material that you were provided, and we just want to follow. We are a local program. It said in the thing that we're statewide, we're a local program. We have been running Help Me Grow for the past 3 or 4 years in this area. And in fact, with a developmental screening project that was funded with the Basic Needs Giving Partnership Project in Oshkosh, that started it all. So really the seed of beginning is here in Winnebago County that spread to Allegheny and other things. Right now, though, the other funding and the things we've done has grown in other counties and not as much here. So this is really about trying to continue what we've started, expand and grow that. And I'm just here to answer questions as you go along if you have any. And we did give lots of other additional information if you need to have that.
Thank you for being here today. Is this the First by Fox Valley in Kimberly?
Yeah, that's where our office is located. Yeah, but we work with Allegheny, Calumet, Winnebago, Green Lake, Marquette, Washera, Wapaka, and Shawano. In the rural areas, we call them our rural Fin Buddies. We got a Medical College of Wisconsin grant to help study how Help Me Grow would work in a rural area. So that's how we have added those smaller cities, those smaller counties. But really, Allegheny and Winnebago are the 2 largest organizations or counties that have the most families we work with.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Please. No, you can, whatever you want.
May I ask a question? Also, answer no.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my name is Shauna Zestera, 1882 Clareville. I'm District 32 Supervisor. I'm here today just to stay abreast as to what's going on. I thank you for your ongoing efforts. I feel like this is a very fluid, exciting group. I know it takes a lot of patience, but it's been neat. I hold before you the ADRC, let's see why I call it ADRC, Senior Resources Directory. And I guess, as we're looking at all of these, health and wellness and human services and mental health, offerings, I would just suggest that if you haven't gone through this, you should study this, just to be sure that we aren't duplicating any efforts or adding more and more welfare type programs. Our country was founded on, working hard and earning. And I know you all agree with that, but that is something that is a concern for me as we are doing, not this board or commission, but there's a lot of handouts coming out these days, and it is very, very important for me to work and for others to work around me. Some of the things on the agenda. Excuse me, number 8, Tri-County Dental Clinic. I'm very happy with Director Guerin involvement in any of that. Dental health is extremely important. I spoke with him a while ago on the need to advocate for dental health. Many people don't understand that if you have infection in your mouth, if you have anything wrong with your mouth, that's an actual infection. I know you all probably know that, but the general public I don't think does. And it would be very nice if the health department was a catalyst and a front man for the general public to say, hey, look, take care of your teeth. So I know that sounds very menial, but it is extremely important. For those of us who had dental anxiety in the past. So childcare providers, as a mother, as a homeschool mother, as someone that has really enjoyed that, I know that everybody cannot stay home with their children. However, I don't know if the county is doing enough to say that it's also really, really awesome to stay put with children. We don't hear that anymore. That was old fashioned, but it's not. It's something that is the fabric of our society. It makes children comfortable and stable and secure. So this input, putting money into childcare, I'm not disagreeable with it. However, I am concerned about some of that because I hear a lot of it. And it's big money. It's big money. So I have with that being said, the last thing I would like to say is I spoke with Director Breeze in the Parks Department, and he is sitting at the edge of the seat, ready to spend some money. He has $750,000 that he would really like to spend. So I'm hoping that we can get to the Parks Department. I can talk with you about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room that wishes to speak?
I think it should just be cleared up with the last speaker that gentleman that was asked about the diapers and that, it wasn't just for the childcare. It was the age and everything else that they're talking about. Yep. Taking for the diaper care, so.
Yep. I appreciate it. And so let's, since we have nobody else in the room, let's go to Zoom. District 26, Conley Hanson, Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Am I coming through all right?
You are.
Thank you. I need again to say right off the bat, the caveat that I am not now, nor will I ever dispute the merit of any of the organizations that have presented to this commission. What I am wrestling with and continue to wrestle with exactly what the current needs are that are required services of the county. And I say that because the original intent of the ARPA funds was to replace lost revenue. And I am concerned that we may have strayed from the original mission on that. Specifically on items 8 and 9, I'm really looking for some clarification because and I'm lumping both together so that I can be sure. It appears that both items 8 and 9 are in partnership with other counties. I need real clarification on exactly what those other counties are contributing. to both of those organizations so that Winnebago County isn't bearing the greatest burden, or even greater than 50% of the burden. I also am not exactly clear how my district is being represented in either of the organizations. I represent Fox Crossing, a portion of Fox Crossing in Menasha, and I don't see that these services are coming to Fox Crossing, Menasha, Winneconne, Omro, and other outlining areas. I need clarification that these services are coming out to my part of Winnebago County as well. And with that, I thank you for your time and I look forward to the presentations.
Thank you. Next up is Sandy Drexler from Tri-County Dental, I think. Oh, sorry.
Hi, thank you, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So I just had a very passionate response about how important dental health is, and thank you so much for that. When we start to look at our work, we care for anybody in the Tri-County area who's in pain. We are very blessed in that we have a mobile clinic and a fixed site clinic, and we take walk-ins from anyone in those 3 counties who is in pain. With our mobile clinic, we have to be a little bit more judicious because we have to make sure that it's very expensive. It costs $1,500 to $2,000 a day. That as we're taking it out, we see enough people and are able to treat them in a way that allows us to generate enough revenue to cover those costs. So when we start to look, 40% of our patients are from Winnebago County as a whole. I can certainly get specifics about different localities, but I would say that roughly 22% are Oshkosh and surrounding area, and 18% are Neenah Menasha. I have pulled, and I don't happen to have in front of me right now Greenville numbers or others, but I can certainly get that. When we look at our patients, these are people who have oftentimes no place else to go. And as you just heard, dental health is so important for your overall health. And it is a lot, 2/3 of our work is with children. What we are trying to do is create healthy lifestyles for their lifetime and to make sure that their mouth is in good shape so they can pay attention in school. Kids can't learn when their teeth hurt. When we are at a school, the other beautiful thing is that it takes away barriers of transportation for parents trying to get out of work, or who might not be able to get out of work, who might not have the luxury of having the flexibility to do so. And it also really limits the amount of time that a child is out of the classroom. So rather than being out of a classroom for maybe 4 hours to get into our clinic, having the mobile clinic someplace allows that child to be out for about 40 minutes or so. So every year last year we did 64,000 dental procedures. This is vitally important for people's health. Last meeting, the committee was kind enough to approve it, and just ask that you again consider and hopefully approve us again. And I will be able to answer questions for a short period of time. Otherwise, I believe Doug Guerin could answer some for us as well.
Question? Yeah, please.
This is Tom Egan. Sandy, did you by chance check into, I know Vice Chairman Parry and myself asked, like, if you were going to go out into some of the smaller areas, school districts and this and that. Well, our case is Omro and Winneconne. Did you check into if you were going to be going out into there?
We did. There is actually a program called Creating Brighter Smiles. And as we checked into it, they serve both Winneconne and Omro school districts. They are a little bit different from us in that they are only doing dental hygiene. The difference between them and us is that we can clean teeth, but we can also do restorative work, such as putting in fillings. When it comes to extractions, we will take care of those kids for free here in our clinic. And we do get a lot of referrals from schools that don't have our mobile clinic going out to them. Because again, a lot of times if you have a program like Creating Brighter Smiles, they can't do the work that we can do, so that has to be done in our clinic. But for school districts or for kids who need extractions, teeth pulled, we want those families, if possible, to come into the clinic, because what we don't want to do because of dental trauma, as referenced earlier, is pull out a child's tooth, put some gauze in their mouth and then send them back into school with a bloody smile, because that would create for others trauma. So in those instances, we ask parents to bring kids into the clinic. So we work really hard to make sure that we don't duplicate efforts, but that we are giving as much access as we can to anybody who needs it, that we can possibly get to in a number that allows us to do it in a way that we can be financially responsible. Because dentistry is incredibly expensive and our reimbursement is exceedingly low. We can only do what we do because we have about 45% of our work being done by volunteers.
Thank you.
Sandy, this is County Executive John Dable. So it's safe to say that you've been talking with both our Public Health Director and our Human Services Director, as well as, I'm sorry, what did you say it was over in Winnebago now? Brighter Smiles?
Creating brighter smiles.
Creating Brighter. So there's a collaborative effort going on there, and there's something that you could do to help them. You would be able to do that, correct?
Absolutely. Again, they do the hygiene, and then if kids, they can refer kids to us. So Menasha School District, for example, the mobile clinic doesn't go there because they also have a similar program. But what happens then if there are kids who need that additional work beyond hygiene, they get referred into our clinic.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again for being here today. Question, how much the funding is, you just said 40% going to Winnebago County, and are you going to be receiving any funds from Outagamie, and I'm assuming Calumet County is the other county that you serve? Have they, given money through ARPA funding or other funding as of late?
There hasn't been an opportunity. So I've been at Tri-County Dental for 2 years. In my tenure until last night, there hasn't been an opportunity that I was aware of to get funding for our needs. But last night we received an email from the city of Appleton saying that they now have some funding that's available for public health. We will be applying for that. Calumet, to my knowledge, has had nothing come out as well. We've checked into it. We haven't been able to find anything that we could apply for. When we start to look, we are Tri-County, but I would say that Winnebago has been really significant for us. We had 4 founders and 3 of them live and practice in Winnebago County. They have now retired, but they're still very involved. Probably, let's see, about 40% of our dentists actually come from Winnebago County. So as we start to look again, the backbone of our work comes from Winnebago County and Outagamie County and Calumet to a smaller degree. They're just a smaller county, but we only work because everyone works together.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else wish to comment? All right, anybody else for public comments? One more time, anybody else? All right, we're gonna go ahead and close that portion of the meeting and go into approval of minutes, if I get a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Fari, seconded by Cox. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. So accepted. Update discussion status of funding for airboats housed at Winnebago County, Poygan Fire Department, Oshkosh Fire Department, and Needham Asheville Fire Department.
Yes, good afternoon. So we have put the request for 3 boats to RFP and are waiting for a response. It's due January 8th, or I'm sorry, March 8th, correct? March 8th. And we will know then what the exact cost is. The monies that are coming from the direct congressional spending, the House decided to go on break today, and they will not return until, I think it's 13 days. That gives them 2 days to pass the budget and have the president sign it. So I don't know what to say, other than they went on vacation. We're hopeful that, things will pass and we'll be able to move forward with the direct congressional funding for the 3 boats. We do have the leased boat, which we have talked about at the board level. Winnebago has paid for one of the months lease for that boat. We just met with them confirming everything today. They had already agreed to it, but, met with them today. So we're gonna be fine this year, and we hope that once the RFP comes back, it's almost the same time that we receive the funding from Congress and we can order the boats.
Steve Bender was at Napa convention. NACO, well, whatever, it was 3 letters. And he was at Tammy Baldwin's office.
Okay.
And they informed him that everything's been approved as far as the Senate and the House goes. And just like you said, the first week in March, they're hoping, but don't hold your breath.
Right.
So that's a positive sign.
I assume you have to prepay when you award the RFP.
We don't have to prepay. I don't typically, there isn't like a 50% or anything once the order is placed. It's a contract between us and the vendor, but they're substantially, I mean, these are boats that are about $330,000 a piece, so. I don't ever recall having to prepay.
And if we have to pay out of our funding and then the congressional money passes 6 to 12 months from now, can we still get the money from Congress even though we've already paid for ours?
Well, I don't know, does the committee level approval expire? On that, I don't have an answer for. My guess is that, because it was approved for this budget year from the federal government, that we would have to reapply for, the next year. That would be my guess. However, we're hopeful that they're on vacation.
I just don't want the timing to cross and our timing excludes us from
Sure.
from the federal money.
Right. I hope to have better news for you the next time you meet and it's approved and the boats are ordered.
Would you happen to know, the, number of the bill that this is attached to? I understand it's an earmark, so it has been included with other programs.
It's a direct congressional spending bill. I don't know the number offhand. Certainly I'll email you what we have. Sure.
And as I said before, we have time to look. You said you're good for this year. And we have money set aside in that top 50%. Since the sheriff would be owning these boats, that's where that would be coming out of anyway. So we have time to wait and see what happens. And the sheriff and I would most likely discuss a backup plan, if need be.
I deeply appreciate your addressing the concerns that have been raised. Obviously, it started with Winnebago County. I certainly think, based on what you've said and the fire chief, that pretty much any emergency service needed this winter will be covered. So
Yes.
I think we're good to go, really.
I do too. And the ice conditions now, we always say ice is never safe. Well, this ice is not safe at all. I just don't even think about it.
How many rescues have you done? I believe.
We've done a few.
I've heard one on the radio, I think.
Yeah, we've done a couple. We had 2 over the weekend, but it was in very shallow water. I think it was both for ATVs. And then, somebody decided to take basically a small garage and take it out on the ice and it went through. I saw pictures of it and it's the largest spearing shack I've ever seen in my life. And it went through. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So our caution now is just to stay off of it. And people are eating it for the most part. Okay. All right,
Thank you very much.
The law of natural selection.
All right, update discussion on municipalities. Paul?
All municipalities have received 145 except for Wolf River and Finland. Town of Finland received 37,000 that they had put in for. So they're waiting to let me know what other road projects they're going to be doing. I also put together a spreadsheet based on Supervisor Farley wanted me to split the interest between the county government projects and the government identified projects. So that is what I handed out earlier today. That is showing that we have to date spent about 6.3
Just
million.
pause 1 second, sorry. Any questions on the municipal thing before we move on from 5 and go to 6?
I might explain Vinland's, position a little bit. I did
Sure.
attend their town board meeting. They, have, approved it's basically an addition they're looking at to the fire, right, to house more trucks. And I think that's where they're probably gonna apply for funding. However, there's gonna be a time commitment there, so even if this committee decides and approves, okay, a project, you're still gonna have to bid it out and go through that process, so. What is our deadline for spending the money? Remind me if you would.
Think it was 50 or 5 years after the date, so 2020.
Okay, but the funding will be available then, at least for the rest of this year. And
They can put in for an advance, which was the whole purpose of it,
Yeah,
and then spend it on what they wanted to, but then the follow-up was to make sure how it was spent
yes.
within 5 years of getting the funds.
So I suggest that because if there's some time constraints, they need to be aware of it, but I do suspect you're looking at several months before at least a decision.
That is this, isn't
Yeah, it says right in the document.
Yep.
it? Half mile of road or?
No, that's the wrong one.
Vinland.
You gotta go to accessory building to the fire department.
That is Vinland.
Yeah, right down here. You gotta drop down. Down. Right there.
That's the one that you want.
Yes, correct.
Any other questions or discussion on the towns?
Tone and a time I got already.
They received their funds, yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
They had county work done it. Road work.
Here. Vinland and Wolf River. Any discussion before we go on to 6?
No, thanks, Paul.
On to 6.
So I split the interest between the county executive or the county government projects versus the government identified / ARPA projects. So that the interest is based on what funds have been spent versus what funds have not been spent. So that's what is being shown on these 2 pages I handed out earlier. There is not a lot of difference between the two, as you can see. Through, right now, it's about $1 million of interest for the ARPA and about 993,000 for the executive. That's going to switch as more money starts coming out, as more things have been authorized through ARPA and more monies are being approved by the board to spend from the ARPA commission. So that's gonna start going the other way. The 2.2 came out for the sheriff's radios back in October. So that's the big hit that came out of why the top portion was receiving less interest than the bottom. So right now, to date, we have actually spent 6.3 million totally of the 33.3. A lot of it's been approved. It hasn't been out yet.
Any questions on the interest? Gonna give it a little bit of time before we move on. Is that what you got?
Correct. I have no question on interest. I might have a follow-up question on the balance that were going to be available to us today at this meeting. Is this appropriate time for that question?
No, I think that is 11, well.
Right, quick question, yes. Like Supervisor Fleury's project for water conservation is 6 million? Yeah,
3,030,000.
but that's a long timeline. So,
Yes, we haven't spent.
so shouldn't that's their money, that project's money, and that should be earning its own interest segregated from the big chunk of interest?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any discussions on that, but I assume the interest on that would probably go to the general fund.
That's 150,000 a year. It's a big number.
I'm not aware of any discussion.
Just brought up that point.
Oh, I have an opinion of that.
My opinion is interest rates are going down. And they're going down probably drastically in the next year, 2 years, so. I don't know, it's gonna be up to the commission and the board. But I do feel that we need to look at where our unassigned general fund is, which is a policy I'm looking at trying to get still approved. And I have had many conversations with Supervisor Cox on that. Of where are we healthy? And I will know more after we're done with this year's audit. But I hate to spend the interest until we know where we're at with our unassigned general fund for our county health going forward.
Thanks, Paul. Any other questions of any interest? All right, moving on. I just want to give a little overview of why these are back on our agenda today for approval. We did have a discussion on the projects last time. But I really appreciate Tom being willing to have the draft resolutions come back so that we know what the wordings are in the resolutions we're sending to the board. So that is what this process is about. Hopefully you've all reviewed the resolutions that you've written up. And if you do have a further discussion on the item, I did not ask anybody to be here because we had a pretty decent discussion last time, but if you do, please feel free to ask them. So looking for a motion to start bringing these resolutions up, and if there's any discussion on them, we'll just take one at a time.
Move to approve. 75,000 from the Spirit Funds Government Identified Community Project category to new mental health connection to implement and innovate features in the service directory and update technology and website content. That was for 75,000.
Any second? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, that passes.
Did you want to do that by voice or by,
Roll call. We did roll call on the discussion. I think we can do this by voice vote. Unless you would rather have it roll call.
I think it's important to have a roll call.
Okay, and we'll do that. Can I have a motion on the next one? For Tri-County Dental.
I'll move to approve.
Right.
That's $403,625 as identified both on the agenda and the resolution.
Okay.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Egan,
Aye.
Damo,
Aye.
Buck,
Aye.
Cox,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Borchert,
Yep.
Stelter.
Aye.
Galloway,
Aye. Moving on to item 9, we have a motion.
Make the motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Egan,
Aye.
Damo,
Aye.
Buck,
Aye.
Cox,
Aye.
Barry,
Aye.
Borchert,
Aye.
Stelter.
Aye.
Galloway,
Aye. Okay. Item number 10 for Sen, can I have a motion?
Oh,
Can I have a second? All right. Any discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Egan,
Aye.
Damo,
Aye.
Buck,
Aye.
Cox,
Aye.
Barry,
aye.
Borchert,
Aye.
Stelter.
Aye.
Galloway,
Aye. Those pass. On to item 11, discussion possible action, continue process prioritizing, selection, and determining funding amounts for Spirit Fund with the remaining to allocate. So Adam, I'm gonna turn to you on after these. If these are passed by the board, what would that leave us in remaining?
I'm sorry to go back just a little bit, the resolutions that come to the board.
Yep.
We gotta do something a little bit different there, so we don't get torn apart every time, because it seems like you give them the resolution, but nobody reads it, and then they wanna start discussing it again. Now, the thought I had on that is maybe somebody gives, when the resolution, it isn't just reading the resolution, but maybe give some information on what went into it and how we got to this point and how it was checked. I throw that out there because it seems like we've spent a lot of time going through these again.
So would you like the agenda item report to be updated with some of the discussion we had here?
I don't know, I just somehow, how do you get to the board? Like,
If anybody be opposed to this, I think that maybe having Beth there and talking about the process, some of the process and how this has been vetted once, twice, 3 times over, to give some context, I agree with you that, you just say approve resolution number XYZ, that you're gonna have, we'll run into a buzzsaw on something.
I would like to defer my chairmanship for this discussion. I think it's more appropriate for Tom to be having this discussion as the chairman of the board. Are you okay with that?
That's fine,
Okay.
because I got 2 cents worth, but Supervisor Cox.
Thank you. We do have item agenda reports that will flow with the resolution. They're clearly probably more than what you need to read in order to develop some kind of idea as to what you want to do with the resolution. We've vetted every one of these twice before we got to this point. And my feeling is that there's enough here.
oh, the issue is, people don't read.
Well, you're in reality.
Yeah, you can have everything, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, and I'm saying somehow along the line, we have to give some soul to what we've done here, and if they wanna use that and just strike us on some points and say this is what's done and just been looked into, I think that would help our position on getting the board to go ahead with this and we're still gonna have somebody that wants to change it, right? We're not gonna get away from that, but at least we wouldn't be going all the way back.
And I agree with what you guys are saying, but as far as having Beth come up, as far as the chairman, I just have a hard time doing that, because then somebody else is gonna wanna come up, like John's gonna wanna come up, and I don't let him come up after his thing is done, he's done. You don't get to come back up and say anymore, and so if I let Beth come up, and maybe Tim will wanna come up, and maybe Tom will wanna come up, we can't do that.
Can I finish?
Vice chairman first, and then you're good.
Thank you, and to kind of dovetail your comments, we all recall the last time Beth was up and gave a presentation. We recall the length of it, and we recall the response from the board. And some of that was quite critical to a person that's not a member of the county board. So I would agree with Tom. I don't think I'd want to subject her to any more scrutiny beyond what she presented.
Supervisor Cox.
If you let me finish a minute ago, I would have come back around and said, I wouldn't want Beth or myself or any one of you to stand up in front of the board and try to explain these things if they haven't read the agenda item report. And that would be the first question somebody would want to say if there was going to be major comments about the work that has gone into making a resolution and putting that resolution out there. Do we want Mary Ann to stand up there and explain every word? No, I wouldn't think. No. I think it's incumbent on everybody to read the agenda report, though it is flowery and whatever else, and it's selling something, and read the resolution. That's what I do when I get ready to come to a board meeting. And I think that's what incumbent on everybody else is to do. And we don't need Beth to come up there, and we don't need John to come up there, or anybody else to come up there and promote.
But I agree with you guys. They don't read them. How are you gonna get them to read them? I don't know.
So maybe a comment to the fact that you got this, it's all here. If you didn't look at it, that's your fault, but somebody's gotta just tell them, and that could be as short as that. Is that it's presented to you, this is the background information, you've had it in your packet.
I can do that. Usually Tom has me bring them in, so I can certainly reference that.
Our agendas and our material, they go to great lengths to try to get them out there 7 days in advance.
Supervisor Buck.
I just wanted to say thank you to Supervisor Fari for volunteering to provide some context at the board meeting. I think that, our colleagues on the board, when you speak, they not always listen to you, but, voice of reason a lot of times. So, thank you. And, you know, I've said it at a number of board meetings, come to these meetings, find out, educate yourself. Well, what's the reality of it? You know, there are a few board members that do that, but most that don't. So,
Funny, be like a demo.
Yeah, I would, I think I agree with most of your decisions there. I mean, I think what happened with Lynn Fromm and Lombrower Community Center was hard to watch. She was a very great lady that didn't really deserve that. I would encourage you to have a conversation with Beth. We are cut from the same cloth, and we have thick skin, and we don't mind taking arrows for things that we believe in. And if you want her as a resource, I'm sure she would, but I completely understand your reasoning of why not. But sometimes some of those specific answers that maybe we don't know, she would be helpful for some of the people that won't read the packet.
And I guess the word assume,
Yes,
we assume that everybody's reading their packet, but then when we get to the meeting, you say, well, they didn't read the packet because they're asking questions or answering.
They're not gonna read that packet anyways, whether you have Beth or not, whoever it is.
Yeah.
If she gets up there, they're just gonna drill her. And so we're still gonna be, so how far are we gonna be other than, like you say, maybe she can take it and give it right back to them and, you know, are some gonna have hard feelings over it or aren't they? That's pretty tough, guys, to go ahead and, like I say, to let somebody put her up there and then what about these other guys that wanna come up? I'm not saying they do, but say if they did. Say if Tom says, well, I'll go up and I'll tell him, so.
yeah, and that's all, I would just encourage you to have a conversation with her if she was willing, and the two of you could work that out. And I think we and the board have done a good job so far. I don't think, other than Nova, I can't imagine another thing that was sent back. Is that correct? Is that the only thing that was sent back, was the Nova
I
one?
thought there was three in total. It was three mistaken.
Well, there was two that got postponed, never made it to the board, so YMCA and Damascus Road.
They were pulled though, they weren't taken to the board, they were pulled.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think we've done a good job.
Last time, thank you, Mr. Chairman, this is the last time. I agree with the county executive, much like having Mary Ann to refer to, you know, I agree with the sentiment of talking to, Beth before the meeting. Many times, our goal of this is to move this forward, and many times you see that when, corporate counsel is referred to and then provides that clarification, that eases people's mind, and then some of that stuff goes away. So I just want to say, I agree with the county executive sentiment on this.
And back in your hands, I gave my,
Sorry, thank you. You could agree with that. So back to you, Adam. After assuming that this portion is passed, what is left?
So today's totals were 878,625.
Okay.
Correct. And so under the government identified projects, the initial total that I came up with was 2,269,118. But again, depending on which spreadsheet, we're using, some things got moved around. And so we're trying to figure out exactly, but the number I have is 2,269,118 for unallocated from this commission.
And I believe it was this commission's will to get the rest of this bottom 50% tied up by next meeting in March, correct? And how many, the YMCA, both YMCA's, because the one we still have to have a meeting with them to see if there's something we can do in the end. Then the other YMCA, which is going to be reduced from 500,000. Nova, right, which is still has to come back, and then First Five Family, which was tabled till March. Is there anything else open in that government identified?
You're saying they haven't been subtracted yet from the.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So that was 500.
I don't recall those numbers. 500,000 YMCA, they're all.
Right. Times two, because there's two of them.
Okay,
But
so it's a
they-
million.
Yep.
Weren't we waiting
What was
on
Nova?
something with,
How, 500,000? How would the YMCA and Oshkosh? What, I think we could talk about it, it's been in the open now, so
fine with me?
there is a childcare center in Amarillo that was looking to close. And they have staffing issues, they have 70 kids in that daycare. So the YMCA in Oshkosh wants to pivot their expansion of Oshkosh for 50 kids to save the 70 kid facility in Amarillo. The thing about it is that it's there, they want to honor the 50% match. It won't be $500,000, it'll be less. It'll be 250, something like that. So it won't be a full 500, it'll be 250. So they're working on that. We hope to have that back here in the next meeting. I'd like to get everything buttoned up on that.
So now we're looking at 750,000.
Yeah, between the two YMCA's.
Okay,
And the other 500 may move to the top category depending on
and Nova was in here.
Nova, yep, 500. First
That's in
five,
addition to that. So now we're at 1,250,000.
yep. First five was
You guys
three,
are talking way above.
We did the budget to 275.
so 275, first five.
First five. Wait a second.
You're looking at 1,475,000.
Oh, we passed that last time. We passed it. We had a resolution for that, right? Okay, yeah, we just got that for it. So that's in there, right?
So I'm taking that from 2,360,000. So we got roughly a little over 900,000 left.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Right.
Yep.
About 900,000 left. yeah.
Well, 900, and when we get done with this, I want to talk about that in 12.
And we got $1 million in interest, so you're $1,000,009.
Right. Right,
First five has been held over until March,
correct.
correct?
Yep,
We just wanted
we
to-
have that in there. We want to make sure that we're assuming.
YMCA
Mhm.
of Fox Cities
Yep,
is held because something you wanted to check with.
Which you
Yep.
just explained, yeah.
so we're leaving it in there for now, but it might move to the top category. We'll see. We're looking at a possible collaboration with them, with their human services building.
So that's anticipated spending.
Right, which would move it to the top because it would be for our purposes.
Yeah, we really need to factor all that in, I would suggest to the commission. So we have, when we leave here today, we have an approximate number that we can deal with going forward, which has always been my concern.
Mhm.
You know, I look at a balance sheet and a declining balance, where am I at the bottom? So I think that explains it.
Right. So is there any further discussion on that?
So, well, are we still on 11?
We're still on 11. yes.
Prioritizing selection.
Mhm.
How, I have had a few calls from supervisors. How do things get on this agenda here? Because we've had some referrals back to ARPA, and how is that decision made to be on this agenda?
This agenda is a decision between me and Tom, we're both co-chairs.
Okay.
But if they want to be put on, if you guys let us know, we'll more than likely work with you. But everything from here is something that's been talked about already and added on to this agenda.
Didn't we close the project list
Yes,
entirely?
for government identified projects, that window has been closed.
August something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was closed, but I mean, now we're seeing, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but we're seeing this change with the Y, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that, you know,
It's fluctuating between 2 or 3 Ys that have been put on.
And we have 2 requests today, right?
As far as the change with the Y, they're going from 500 down to 250.
mhm.
But that's for our good.
Still, yeah,
No,
but
I'm just
still
saying,
for the
as far-
capacity of their original intent, to
Right.
have a place for childcare.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess I just don't want to get to a place where this start, you know, this balloons and we, you know, we still have to take care of our county needs and,
That we haven't touched yet.
Yeah.
They're in a little bit.
Yeah, that's a
Already
separate,
over here.
yeah.
separate ledger.
Yep, and
So-
we'll,
How would we address these 2 requests today then? Are we simply saying you can't be put on the list, you're too late, it's closed in August?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I would say. However, that does not mean that we don't have ability for human service and public health to work with them, to find other grants. It doesn't mean that we have the ability to collaborate with them and figure out more resources. Doug, would you agree with that? With the Jake Stiper?
Yes.
Right, like we could find other ways for funding. US Internet, I love what they do. They stretch fiber out to where fiber isn't before. We've had them come to IDB a few times. They do good work. There are other sources of funding that we could do to look at for them. If there is something that we want to connect our services with Winnebago County for, and it's for our purpose, that is something that we can evaluate at top 50%. Does that make sense?
It's part
Yeah,
of the
I think their
CIP
purpose
program,
was
is what you're
public
saying?
safety.
Right, right.
Are you saying it's a part of a CIP program that could be extended?
If it's for our use, right?
For our use?
Right. If it's for our use. If it's not, there are other things. That being said, we do have a couple applications for management analysts. These are people that would be able to help us to find some of those other funding sources to make it easier for us to pass through some of this money to these businesses. We gotta cut out some capacity to do that. Paul, you have a comment on that? Does that make sense?
No, I was just gonna try to go back to you listed off a whole bunch of others where I'm showing at 2.2. I was just trying to get back to the first 5 YMCA, Oshkosh Village Boys Club, whatever, so we're all kind of knowing what's left to be decided on and what extra money is still there that hasn't been spoken for. Back to Supervisor Farmer.
Mhm.
Well, if we had an August 31 deadline, we've vetted all the applications. We have the pending ones left, and there's approximately $900,000 left in our kitty. And what would you do with that? You're gonna reopen or?
That's
you-
12.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We'll get to that. So any other discussion on item 11? Any other discussion? All right, moving on to 12. When we first had a plan of things to kind of like look at, when we first started this commission, there was a line in there for $1 million for veteran housing. And there was a larger chunk in there for a housing initiative, right? Which I think is pretty much, I don't think we'll have any kind of money to entertain any revolving loan fund or anything like that in the community. But the one thing I do want to make sure is that we try to find money to do a veteran housing piece in Winnebago County. There is something, if you talk to Jeff in Veteran Services, he doesn't have the capacity to run it, but there are organizations out there that will. If you look at Veteran Village up in Outagamie County, that is not run by the government, that is run by separate organizations. There are organizations in our county that would partner with us to run a facility. If we could find a match for us to build it. Jeff's list of veterans that need housing is always deep. It's always a long list. I think we heard day by day, for the board say that there were 4 veterans that were staying at the homeless shelter. So his envision is to work with the state, for a project, that would do a transitional housing piece. Currently, there is a transitional housing piece for veterans up in Green Bay. It is not the model that the state wants to do anymore. It has a shared kitchen, it has shared bathrooms. They want to do more independent spaces. So their transitional housing pieces, they want to make sure there's a bathroom and a little kitchenette in each one. Almost akin to what we're doing over by the sheriff's department and kind of like what the tiny house village did, smaller units. So we want to be able to partner with the state who is looking to build a new facility for veteran housing, transitional housing in the state of Wisconsin. So I would like to see if there's money left over that we could commit a chunk to that. That would not necessarily be our building, but it'd be a partnership with either the state or with the service organization in Winnebago County.
Within Winnebago County.
Within Winnebago County. So that is the first bullet on here that I would like to get ideas on, feel what this commission's thinking.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been to the NACO conferences. I mean, what kind of discussions are you having with other entities, other counties throughout the United States? Obviously, this isn't exclusive to our county, but there must be some great ideas out there from other counties throughout the United States of America. Have you had those discussions? Do you have folks that you're going to be reaching out to about that? You know, and especially at the state level, right? You said Green Bay, they're going to move away from that kind of model, and so, you know, is that something that you're currently doing or going to be doing?
Yes, I mean, those are conversations we want to have, that there's all kinds of housing out there for veterans, and some of them are a little bit more successful, some are not. Some of them are like literally a heated box. No bathroom, no kitchen, just for homeless vets. So I think a step above that, with the programming available. I mean, there needs to be some kind of veteran service programming and other programming to help these guys back up. There have been a lot of changes on the federal level with, I can't remember the act that they passed where Camp Lejeune is now eligible. There's a lot more benefits that we can get to veterans right now that they're available to. So as long as we have that piece where we can get in there and help them get the benefits they need, they can get back to stability a lot faster. It's just something me and Jeff have been working on. We did have a meeting with James Bond, actual name, that is the Veteran Commission Service in state of Wisconsin. So they're looking for a facility like this, and they're looking for a partnership, where I think that if we get this worked out, the state would bring $1 to $2 million to it as well. And it would be a collaborative effort to really hit this. And we have a large veteran community here in Winnebago County. We really do.
How many buildings do you think you need to put up?
When we had their meeting, and I wish he was here, when we had their meeting, they said 18 to 30 is what they wanted to do. So somewhere in that ballpark. Green Bay, I think is 24 right now. But again, it's more of this communal, boarding house style. You share a kitchen, you share a bathroom, and they want to get away from that.
So you want something more or less like the tiny houses that you have.
Correct, and the state is actively pursuing, they're actively pursuing, another project in northeast Wisconsin, and here to make that happen.
Are there like two types of veterans that need help? There's one of them, and I don't know the answers. One of them is that they're just in hard luck and they need somebody to get them over to home. And then they get back in society. And then there's the other type that might be a more, have to get into institutionalized, right? And then what would this provide services for? Both of them or just one type?
Both.
Or is there more than?
Well, I mean, sure, there's ones, Veteran Village, if you look at that in Allegheny County, they're stable. That's just stable, permanent housing for them. The problem is that when a unit comes up, it gets filled really quick. And in Allegheny Veteran Village, they had a really unique situation. Somebody gave them an apartment complex. So they have been renovating each apartment and then they rent it out to a veteran or his family, can stay there. A little bit different model. It's that middle piece that Jeff is looking to find. And the issue is, one of the issues, when you have these veterans and you put them in the housing authority or you put them in these other places, sometimes veterans have bad days. And if PTS kicks in, people will call the police. But if you have other veterans, they understand that a little bit more and they kind of help de-escalate themselves, I guess, if that makes sense. So we'd like to have a place for that.
How much did your little houses cost in front of or by the landfill?
$180,000 a piece.
Okay, and you need 18 to 30?
Right.
So our 700,000 goes to like 4?
Well, no, our 700,000 is a match for the state, could bring a lot more money.
So, I mean, it's fine with investment, but it's the problem's this big, and we have
Right.
this one.
Yep.
I certainly appreciate that comment, but I'm not sure that's the model because, I think the county supervisors are aware of the situation with the 90 housing, which is, needs further explanation as we go along. However, the model would be the mini housing complex that we put up, and I don't recall the cost of that, do you?
Well, it depends. There are a lot of bells and whistles put on.
I mean, that's a very well, if you drive by, it's very well put together.
When I talk to Chet still says he could make them for $750 or $75,000 a piece. That being said, it went way over because there are a lot of add-ons and bells and whistles.
Yeah.
That, another thing I want to say.
Let's
this
assume
is-
a number, 100,000 piece.
Correct, and I think there are other, it'd be a lot cheaper to build this in Winchester, wouldn't it? It'd be a lot cheaper to build this in the town of Inland if that was a thing willing to do it, doesn't
Well,
necessarily.
you're gonna
have to.
want municipal services,
Sure.
and that's probably the
Right,
kicker there.
Yep.
John, I support it, and based on a document from last month, I assume you're looking at $1.5 million out of $1.9 million here?
we'll see, something, that we can go to the state and say we have a match and we want to further these talks and figure this out and find a service organization.
You gotta buy the land, you gotta do the permitting, there's a lot to go through there.
Right.
So that means you basically wanna put money and set it aside on hold specifically,
For this purpose, correct?
and are you willing to put a time limit on it?
Sure.
Like a year, if it's not,
Maybe 2, because it's the state, they move slower than we do. That's impossible.
well,
It's not possible.
if you go with a 2-year thing, you run into,
2-year would be. okay.
political issues.
Yeah.
I mean, elections come up,
Yep,
supervisors change, county executive change, so I'm not sure that would be the initiative.
2-year, I think is enough for us to get a commitment.
You've been having meetings, evidently listening to you talk. Who are you thinking about partnering with? You said the county wouldn't run it, they just have money in, but who's thinking about running it then?
That is more on, Jeff. So
Well, you've been on the meetings, I'm sure.
I've been in some of them, yeah. So Jeff wants to explore what if it's the state, Veterans Village. I'm trying to remember who runs Veteran Village right now. Does anybody know the organization that does that? No?
I do not know.
No, all right, but there's plenty out there. I just don't know the specific names, but there have been a few that have been interested. So I would like to have something put up for the next meeting on that. I just really wanna know, number one, if that is something that, if there's any direction on that.
I see if I might speak, I see a little conflict between the intent of the board, which was obviously to get this money out to people that need it ASAP, right? And I think we've done our best to follow that. Your request would basically tie up these funds for a very logical, needed commitment, but you still have that conflict, so. Is this something you like the opinion of this commission? And then the additional opinion of the whole county board. I assume that would be your direction.
Yeah, And-
And this county board or the new county?
well, even this one, I'm sure we can get a meeting, with Madison. I never want to speak outside of my responsibility or my power. I cannot commit monies that I don't have control over, right? So that's why I want to have this discussion here. I think it would be worthwhile, a discussion on the county board floor, to see if this is something that the board would be willing to set aside and commit to, and then we can go to the state with that. I can't promise the state anything.
So you're proposing you might bring it up under your opportunity to address issues. Of course, with approval of the chairman.
Yes, or not necessarily me, because when my comments are done, and I respect that. It would either be Lou or Jeff or a combination of the two. So Lou Shear is the housing coordinator that I've been having go out and listen to lots of municipalities and private sector people, and it's been going well.
You need more focus. If I was gonna vote on something, I would vote on concept,
Right.
which however good concept is, you want a narrow focus, have some detail, project description, something that I can get behind, versus just investment in a cause.
Yeah.
But I think we all support it.
Are you planning on having
I
a?
just looked it up. The Veterans Village is the Wisconsin Veterans Village Association.
Okay.
That runs it. And then, Mr. Carper, Don Carper, is
Yep.
who coordinates it. The navigator.
Of course.
Are you planning on having a presentation? Are you planning on a presentation in the boardroom? That kind of thing?
Yeah, I think, I wanted to see if this was still a possibility first. And then I'm gonna put from this group. Before I really commit Lou and Jeff's time to hash this out. So we've had meetings with the state to see what they wanted. They came and had a great conversation with Secretary Bond, about what they're looking for in the state of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Kind of agreed with Morris here that, and with Tom, like the concept, obviously, but would like to see something from the state and other partners. You know, that's, great. Yep, you say they're gonna do it, but like to hear that from them and say, yep, we're committed to a project like this. This is feasible, instead of here's $1 million in a separate pot that I'm, using for this. So that would be my suggestion.
Yep, okay. No, that's good. Or anything else on the veteran housing? All right, want to move down to housing resource exchange. So as we've been talking to government officials, we continue that, and we talk to private sector builders, contractors, you name it, housing authority. We've had a few of these meetings, really figure out what the holdup is in Winnebago County. There are other models that I don't think we can do. When I look at the Sheboygan model, they got a lot of free money. They got $6 million from the businesses to do a revolving loan fund for people that, Tom, you know more about it than I do. Even if we had $3 million, that wouldn't be a lot of homes. That'd be a long turnaround for that to continue growing. When I look at the Washington County model, they did grants, so they bought land and kind of developed land, and then they gave money that's forgivable to help with the down payment. Again, I don't think it's sustainable. Even if I had $3 million, how many houses is that? Not a lot. But one of the things that we have heard is builders are frustrated because they don't really understand how to go about permitting. It's different in every city, different in every municipality. Some places want to, some places don't. So can we create a housing exchange in Winnebago County through GIS and Adam and Land and Water, or not Land and Water, Planning and Zoning? Can we have a resource out there for builders, for contractors to say, here are the zones that want to grow. here are the zones that don't, right? If the town of Nepiescum says we want to be farmland preservation, we don't want to play, then they just know that that is off the table. I don't know if that makes sense. But it would be a place to show people, where do we have sewer, where do we have water, where do we have internet, what are the accesses available? One-stop shop to let them know what are the permits they need, what are the setbacks, what is the retention issues that you might fall into. One of the things that I challenged, help me out, Chuck, Winnebago Waterways, the new director.
Oh, yeah, I can't help it with it.
Yeah, all right.
I don't recall it either, yeah.
So, for instance, retention ponds are the bane of developers, and developers, they always lose land for it, and Winnebago Waterways don't necessarily like, growth because it creates more runoff, and they're kind of adversarial. So the new director came from Fox City's chamber, smart guy. How do we get these people to work together? How do we find areas where we need to do some retention issues and work together with developers to help with some of that stuff? How do we look at development as a way to solve the issue instead of be more against it? So this is, go ahead.
You need a director of development, somebody that is more than familiar with Winnebago County zoning and planning. And you need a future land use plot map, to span out the entire area, the network of what you have for use for where, okay? How you put together a town, how you put together a municipality. That would be your first step. That would be, if you wanted to communicate with planners and developers, you'd want to have a layout, the future land use map in front of you. And you'd want to have each entity that is dealing with that zoning and that particular permission to be there as well. You have zones and you have people that are very skilled in that, Jerry and some of those.
Jerry Carey and Adam Dorn.
They should be in on the initial outset of the whole thing, and they should have a future land use map, a comprehensive plan of what you expect to do.
Oh, there is. Right, Tom? Yeah.
All of that's there. Everything is there,
Mhm.
and it's available. Actually, Winnebago County has one of the best GIS systems.
Yep.
Giving this information probably in the state.
Mhm.
So all that is available. So a contractor that wants to know something about permits, process, procedures could contact the county and get all those answers. You're getting into a quagmire of regulations here, because that only applies to 5 towns within this county.
Mhm.
It does not apply to the incorporated municipalities such as Fox Boston.
Right.
Outside of that, that's all regulated and controlled by town government. And that's where they need to go to get those answers.
Mhm.
In regard to the retention funds, and I agree, that is, has become, a more cost issue to developers, their concerns and everything, but the initiative to keep the development water on their property is the reason for that. But every municipality is, if they have their own ordinance, which is an option of the towns, you're gonna have different rules and regulations. So I don't know of any way to put that all together. You're suggesting one person would have the answers to a question on all the municipalities? Example, when you get into the city of Oshkosh, they have their rules, their planning. They also have 3 mile extraterritorial jurisdiction into the towns. So we go to do a land division, we gotta go to the city of Oshkosh to approve. So all these things are layered.
Right.
I understand the complexity of it, but, I don't know how one person would address that.
They're all there for a reason.
And it's all.
And the complexity is exactly it. When we talk to developers and builders in Neenah, there's one person you go to get all your permits. In Oshkosh, it's 3 or 4 you have to go to. So it's not dictating that, it's not changing that. It's just a resource of, if this is where you want to build, this is who you need to see. Right, here's the setbacks you're gonna have to worry about. Here's where they require curb and gutter. Now, do I know how to do that? No, but Adam Dorn was pretty intrigued with it. It's something he think would be useful.
Many years ago. Many years ago, they came out with a little booklet on apartments and on renting and on the cost of certain areas and what are those kind of booklets, such as what Shanna had with regard to individual services. Those kind of booklets are hard to find. We're, I don't think, wanting to author something like that, but it would be nice to get a start on the right guys in the right places.
Right.
You have some of those people here, but if you want to really talk to the municipalities that have fallen away from or have taken and changed their zoning rules because they have I'm trying to find a word here, have become Fox Crossing and gone out and incorporated their entire village away from your zoning and decided to do that. There would be others that would want to do the same thing, at least, or you would want to have them listed as to that area is zoned differently. They have their own zoning rules and so on. I don't know how you've got it. You don't have a book that can.
No, and you wouldn't. This book here, which I think what you're referring to, in 10 years, half these programs may or may not exist.
Right.
But a hyperlinks will. It will just be hyperlinks to get them to that township or municipality, let the builders. What the tax rate is, what are the things that you're looking at? Andy, if I wanted to come to you and say I want a project, right? And you're gonna go look at a county, you're probably gonna look to see where it's most beneficial to you, right? What are the tax rates? What are the setbacks? Where do I have to do curb and gutter? Where are all these? Who do I have to talk to get these things done for? And if you had a map to let you know where the easiest spot to go with, would that be helpful for you?
I suppose it would,
Right.
A lot more information is gonna go into that.
And if you're a contractor or a developer, let's say you're a developer and there was a list on there on contractors that work in Winnebago County, would that help you?
Sure, I think also help you who's gonna give me the most tax breaks, right? Is that gonna be in the book?
Well, see, that was the thing about the discussions, because one of the things, when you look at Commonwealth, or some of these other projects, they only go with the subsidies, right? We don't have money to subsidize housing. There's not enough. It's not a sustainable model. So, if they see that that's not there, maybe that's not the type of people you get. But we did talk to one developer who builds 150 plus houses a year. In Wisconsin right now, mostly in De Pere. I'm trying to get a look at Winnebago County. But he has the workforce to build 150 houses a year. And we're behind. So I guess that's just.
We have been, say it last night, I'm driving up to Appleton to go to take my daughter to tutoring, driving up to Appleton for this or that. Kind of missed the boat on a lot of this stuff, and it was a lot of our predecessors that made us miss the boat on a lot of this stuff. So I don't know how much of that is gonna change, hopefully it does, but unfortunately, decisions that have been made in the past are affecting us right now.
This morning at the, extension meeting, Maya gave a presentation on a program that she's very excited about. And there's not a lot of details on it yet, but it's, along the lines of entrepreneurship. You know what I'm talking about. Entrepreneurship. Yeah. And, it sounds like it isn't very labor intense, but what she's looking for are municipalities, rural type municipalities that would buy in. Do you know what I'm talking about? All right.
No, I
Well, explain
kind
that.
of.
Yeah, well, no, that,
High level.
everything is kind of because nobody knows about it yet, but she's working on it. And somewhere along the line, your office probably should get involved in that because it might be something that, could answer some of these questions that we're talking about now. Minnesota's doing it, but that's all we know.
What are you referring to, rural municipalities in what regard?
You mean townships?
What she told me was,
Yes, yes.
what they're talking about is small small municipalities or a township that doesn't have a lot of commercial, a lot of that, but that wants to build their base. And they're willing to partner, and the extension committee works with them to make sure they stay on track. They have a mission statement, it's not a battle plan, what do they call it?
Future land use.
Not a plan, it just, they have a plan and they stick to the plan.
Yeah,
And she thinks that they're gonna be involved in that. Now, this doesn't take a lot of people, because there's people volunteering to do it, with the end result, them helping themselves.
Are you talking about a comprehensive plan? of
No.
some sort?
Are you talking about a plan to develop within those areas?
No,
no, it's a resource to help. If town wants to build a YMCA in town of Rushford, how many people do you have in town of Rushford working that?
Not very many.
Not very many.
I'm under the impression it's more, I wanna become a builder to build the restaurant. What do I need? And then
Oh.
she helps them, or that the system helps them know, and that's what kind of, what permits you have to get and where you have to get it, or find the people that do that. And again, that, not a lot of detail yet, not that I can remember that much detail was there, but the person, somebody should be talking to them and finding out, because it might be something that dovetails well in the county's battle plan, and makes it so that it does extend out to the whole county.
In part.
You're gonna run into this premise of difficulty. You're talking about development, whether it be commercial, housing, etc. I won't speak certainly for the town of Rushford, town of Millen. Our focus has been always limited new development. We only allow 10 new homes a year.
Right,
The reason is preservation of farmland.
right.
And we never should lose the focus on that.
That's.
We all have to eat, guys, and if they wanna expand the municipality, do it within a municipality such as Oshkosh. They keep expanding for their tax base. They keep taking our land and annexing for their tax base.
That is the.
Our
point.
focus is, we're gonna keep growing crops.
Right, and people should know where are the places that are off limits. Right,
That's all defined in a land use plan, which is part of the county land use plan. They're all stitched together. And that would be quite obvious by reviewing the plan.
to your point, one of the things, City of Manassas is looking at right now is how do they do, 0-foot lot lines? How do we bring back the concept of row houses? There's a development they're looking at to figure out how we do row houses. Are there
Now, you said the city of,
Manassas?
you realize they have home rule.
Yes,
They have more flexibility
absolutely,
than a town would.
right,
Because we're under state law.
correct.
So that flexibility only applies to municipalities with home rule.
Right, and the ones that don't want to have a right to say no as well.
That's correct.
Right, and that's That's the resource we want to develop. That's the GIS map we want to develop. Here's where we're ready to go. Here's where the infrastructures are. Here's where the permitting is. Here's where your setbacks are. Here's where required curbs and gutter. Here's where a zero lot line is possible and you can do a row house. Here's where it's not and just make it. Tom, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's just, to get all those resources together into one room or one spot or one pamphlet is your goal, I guess, because.
Right.
You know, Fond like Oshkosh, Menasha, Appleton, Clayton, New, Northwest, Chambers, WMC, everybody has an issue with housing, and so they're all doing something, so how do you do this? And when I finance builders are very parochial, they build in Appleton, or they build in Town of Clayton, or they build in Enid, or they build in Menasha, because they know
Let me,
who to talk to and all
let
those
me get
roles.
one name in
You're
here.
gonna go back to the top.
Let me get one name in here that you should be.
Tim
talking
first,
to.
hold on, Tim first.
I have a question about the interesting discussion, the relevance to the ARPA funds.
Because it might cost, it might be $100,000-$200,000 to do. I don't know, that's the concept,
To do what?
to build this exchange. I don't know if it's us.
You remember a name or a person named Catherine Newsender or Newsvender?
Nestwinder, yeah.
Newswinder?
Yeah,
She was a connection to, the extension center for, connecting up all of the planning commissions in the entire county. In fact, we went to many of her discussions. One of the things that you're getting at is making a connection, that word connection. Now, whether it's a connection by fiber or a database or a connection by people that know the systems and know the systems well, as far as, excuse me, as far as the people that are, have gone on to change their municipality, change themselves from a town to a municipality of some sort, or to change their zoning from what we have at Winnebago County, as Fox Crossing has done, so we don't have the setbacks on the water and whatever else. All of those kind of things come out within this connection. You find for people, the developers, the answers at this kind of a connection, this kind of an operation. And it's all through the extension center, or it had been at the time that I was.
Thank you. I think it's a very novel idea. I agree with Tim. I don't know how well it fits the ARPA strategy. And I also believe it's easier now than it was 20 years ago to have a pamphlet, how to build in Winnebago County. You can, right here, you can figure out a lot of different information right here for free. You said we have a great GIS system. I think it would help, yes, people coming into our area to build, streamline that, but I also believe that they're coming here because there's careers here, you know, they're coming here for that. That's why they're gonna come and build here, and I don't know how much of a resource the county doing that will help, so.
Yeah, I'm concerned too that we may be, as Supervisor Pryor was saying, the town of Inland does not want to build. They want to crop, they want to farm, they want that rural lifestyle. So by creating a pot of money to only help the areas that want to build seems inequitable to me.
That's the point. I don't think that we should be funding housing projects in certain areas when other ones don't. You know, but what does that map look like to say this is the areas that are off limits? Nepieskim's the only township that has farmland preservation area, right? So I mean, that's,
Completely, yeah.
right, that's clear. it would be helpful for builders to know that the town of Inland only does 10 houses a year,
Well,
right? Or no more.
let me qualify. That's where it was when I retired from the board. I don't believe they've changed it.
Right.
But I don't speak for the new board. I just speak for what was. I suspect they have the same intent. They keep it rural.
So, and again, I'm not even sure, this is just something that Lucia and I have been kind of kicking around with all these meetings that she's been doing. She was brought in as a housing coordinator out there, neighborhood improvement grant. And we're trying to see what are the other opportunities out, how do we have it grow, because we have issues. World Relief just settled another, how many migrants was it in Oshkosh alone? I want to say 100. We don't have 100 departments open, but they look at, the amount of rents we have and they send them here. There's some in Outagamie, some in other parts, but I mean, we keep getting all these people and there's no places to house them. If we had housing, that's, even if we have the jobs, I can't tell you how many CEOs I've talked to, people turned down jobs because they couldn't find a house. We can't subsidize the house, it's not sustainable. But how do we help those that are trying to be in this industry? What is the resource they need to really get them going? I guess my ask is, can we entertain whatever's left in this 50% to go toward housing? Majority of it for a venture project and maybe something else, whatever Lou wants to ask us for, would we consider that?
I'll be a little skeptical of
Sure.
the latter part.
Okay.
But certainly not the best.
And if it all goes to veterans, I'm okay with that too.
Well, if you add the other part in, I will be skeptical.
Sure.
Exclusively veterans, I'm more open.
Any other discussion on 12?
I would vote no because of what Tom said. If you don't see anything in front of you.
Sure.
Plan or anything,
Right.
just to say, yes, I'll give however many $1 million to it, I have a bit of a problem with that.
Well,
We've excluded the word affordable because there's no such thing as affordable.
then that doesn't exist.
So that's okay, but.
Yep. No, it doesn't exist.
I agree. I mean, you're talking about concept.
Yes,
If we want to set money aside for a concept,
yes.
I don't know if I agree with 2 years, but we need to have a more definitive plan before we actually say, well, okay, we're gonna set it aside.
Correct.
So that's,
And it would not, this is not an ask to allocate.
yeah.
Right.
In other words, you're saying we don't want to bring no new projects forward before the commission within their category.
Correct.
Oh.
Yep. And then, yes, correct. Unless we think otherwise. I think that was the goals that we set.
But we did, we had a cutoff date in August, as I recall. And I think we've met all of the requests that have been submitted within that timeframe.
Yep.
However, we had 2 today. I believe we do have the funding available. The question becomes before the commission, do we now want to entertain any additional requests with at least some of the money left? And I would separate that from, especially with the internet issue, if that involves safety, especially if it involves law enforcement. I think maybe we should take a look at some of that.
I may respond, I would take the opposite approach in that. I think if we open up the door, we need to open up the door to everybody.
Well, that,
I would-
yeah,
Yeah, I would echo that sentiment. We set the deadline of August and,
Yeah.
if we keep opening up the door, I don't disagree with your sentiment, Supervisor Fari, one single bit, but we keep going back to the county projects that we have, and if we, kick a couple of those down the road, they're still gonna need to get done, so.
yeah,
I agree
that's the
with you.
next discussion.
Yes.
Yep.
And I agree with both of you, but neither one of them applied for any of this money. So
Right.
if you look at it that way, these guys didn't apply for any of it.
Right,
Yeah,
So that
Mhm.
means
Yep.
they shouldn't
Yep.
get any either.
I agree.
yeah, that's,
And I'm not against it, I'm just saying.
Correct, I agree,
Yeah,
no, I agree.
I agree.
It's where I'm at.
Same.
Yep. All right, moving on from 12, unless there's any other discussion. Going to 13, developing a plan for the county government project category. I just kind of want to introduce this a little bit. We've been taking this slow and taking it slow for a reason, because we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. I think the facility condition assessment showed us, that we built a lot of things at the same time. We're in a lot of buildings, we have a lot of choices to make. Facility condition assessment was one of the reasons why the airport fire station, albeit we don't know where that lands right now, got moved up. Because we have a couple facilities that are in rough shape. So Mike's credit, we have a lot of facilities that are in decent shape. But there's a lot of roofs, there's a lot of boilers, there's a lot of carpet, everything has to be maintained, when you have that much square footage. So one of the things that Mike Elder is hopefully going to have prepared, at least he's been asked to have prepared for our next meeting, is a master plan study, space use. Where are we, what, are we effectively using all the space we have? Are we not effectively using all the space we have? Does it make sense where things are, where they are? For instance, facilities being over by the airport, away from all the buildings that they actually maintain, they don't do a lot of work at the airport. They do all their work here and on the northern campus. Mike suggested it was about 8.5 hours a day of drive time, just window time going back and forth. So he wants to bring his master plan study for this commission next week. Other than that, I think I really want to buy time for Mike Elder and Paul and Mike Collard and whoever the next director of administration is to really come up with a long-term plan to how we get over these bubbles. The roof and the boilers at both Parkview and the sheriff's department are due to be replaced at the same time. Those are both very big projects. Facilities condition assessment, I think the peak was 12 million. 12 million, and that doesn't include the 5 million that we do for road repair. So we really got to figure out how to navigate this the best to make sure that we're doing this in the most economical way and the most best way. I guess my ask of you is to give us time to really develop a lot of that. We are prepared to come forward and do the master plan study. We're also prepared to come forward with the outdoor recreation spirit request. So Adam has been working pretty hard on that. I think it was presented to Parks Committee, just as a presentation piece. The only thing that was controversial in that is the pickleball court. I'm sure it'll be controversial when it gets here. We'll see how that goes. But other than that, I know you guys are urgent on getting this stuff allocated and getting it done, especially the citizen members. But I think we really have to take our time with our top 50%.
Well, I think not only the citizen members, I think these guys, I mean, Tom for sure isn't going to be back next year as of right now anyways, and Andy's got someone that's running against him, so, there can be changes all the way around here.
Yeah.
Well, my term expires, right? So,
Only when they let you go.
but meanwhile, as far as your deferred maintenance, you don't approve expenses for a normal schedule for deferred maintenance and have
We should, we do
standard
not.
accounting to take care of that?
Mike Elder has complained about that he wants to put 2% of the building's worth aside every year to account for the maintenance, and we do not.
You don't just pay for all your roofs one year and then,
Correct?
interesting.
No, agreed.
Budget process.
This is the first year, Paul put our CIP project all in one project. Did we do that last year? I can't remember. We did it last year, so this is year two of figuring that out, and Paul's still trying to figure out how you do the long-term vision on that, how you make sure that those years are in line and they make sense and they're based off of priorities. What's capital outlay, what's a capital improvement plan? We're getting there, right, Paul?
Yes, as a government, you can't expend stuff and accrue it.
You can't accrue money
It's
and how,
not
right?
allowed. You have to put it into a capital improvement plan that you're looking 10 years out. But you need to know, I'm gonna spend $1 million this year, $1 million this year, $1 million this year. But I haven't seen, it's more of a, what do we need this year and then what do we need next year, not a.
Yeah.
I appreciate the sentiment of, be patient, take it slow, let's kind of get our ducks in a row. That being said, the Parks Department, that plan is done. So if we go, well, let's wait 6 months, let's wait for 9 months to pass that, that's just gonna increase the cost to do that, so. My question is, why wait for that? It's done, it's done, so let's bring it forward, let's vote it up or down and be done with it and get that moving forward so we can get those contractors in place. And so it's gonna be cheaper at the end of the day, if we know we wanna do it, why are we gonna wait for it?
So and that's what I said, the next meeting that Park Spirit request will be here, as well as Mike's master plan. But a good amount of that, I think we need to have planned for our capital improvement challenges coming in. And I would like to have time for Paul and Mike Elder, Mike Collard and Mike Elder to get together and really come up with a plan on that. The boardroom, right? We have some technological advances we're gonna have to do with the county boardroom.
We haven't spent the money.
We haven't spent the money, right? And there was a section in there, 800,000 that we had set aside for that. Does that mean that the boardroom gets built on the 5th floor of the courthouse? So it is strictly a boardroom and not a shared space, not a courtroom and a boardroom. Like what
been brought up before.
Correct. And what's the best way going forward? How do you make it secure? Is that the best spot for the boardroom? Should the boardroom, if we're gonna spend that, should it be there or should it be somewhere in the northern part of Oshkosh? It has to maintain in the county seat, but where is it easiest to access? These are all the plans that I want Mike to, the master plan study is really going to let us know what our spaces are, what we have available, and are we as efficient as possible. I love the airport terminal, but Jim and Cameron have the largest offices I think I've ever seen in a government building, right? Do we have space standards on how big an office can be? These are things that we need to set forward. And you walk this building, the 4th floor has a lot of open space, the 3rd floor has a lot of open space. Are we using that best?
Are there any capital projects such as you defined when we first started this? I have a document that you listed all these projects that need to be addressed within this year. Because I agree with Andy. Now, you're only talking about parks.
Yeah.
Expand that.
Yeah,
a little bit.
sure, yeah.
Expand that a little bit.
Yeah.
I would say the highway for health reasons out there, I mean, them girls are working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's projects that this
Yep.
commission should be addressing that we know of and that you have identified already that maybe we should proceed with.
To your point, the highway, we already put $600,000 aside. Looks like it's gonna be a little bit more because we have to rent trailers. I want them in there while they're renovating it. That's already been passed. So that's already in motion. Other than that, the facility condition assessment, the only one that it said you need to work on it now is the fire station. Maybe don't gonna be in the little houses, you can put them down there. Right. No, those are waiting lists. Oh, you mean those?
Yeah.
I don't know if they'd be comfortable with that, Tom, but that's not a bad idea. But yeah, I mean, we're there, the things that are like now urgent now, I think we're already taken care of. To the facility condition assessment as the data I'm using to make that statement.
You brought up about the boardroom. Well, I hope it's not just 4th floor that's gonna make the decision on where the boardroom is gonna be. Hopefully it's, the facilities committee or whatever gets, and I'm part of
Right.
that.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. That's the, what are our needs?
Well, 800 grand ain't gonna cover establishing a new board.
Right.
Own one.
Right, but if we figure out the space issue, we figure out where we are, and we figure out what's the best way to handle Needham and Ashland. I mean, that's one of the reasons we're holding up the YMCA and Nina. If they're going to tear down half their YMCA and build, can we put money into that and move our offices over there? Is that something we could do, or do we stick in that old building in Needham and Ashland where the parking is terrible? I don't know if you've ever tried to exit that parking lot.
Many times.
Yeah, that's a long wait. You might as well just take a left and go around. But we have a lot of money we're gonna stick into that. What's the best way forward with the Oregon King building? We have a lot of money, we're gonna stick into that. So
Yeah, we just put all that money in the basement and, Supervisor, I think Supervisor Wingren, we're,
Yep.
just built the Huber Center, then tear it down 20 years later.
Correct.
I mean, we have to avoid that at all costs.
Right. Or putting a brand new roof on what was it before Parkview again?
Pleasant.
Pleasant Acres, putting a new roof on
Sunny.
Pleasant Acres before we tear it down. Right. So
But-
that's,
This has all been addressed in the facility study that we paid for.
right.
And it's completed. So you simply want to do a presentation to define this in more greater detail.
Yeah, I want to give them time to really study it and figure out what the plan is going forward. How do we manage this giant bubble that we know that's coming? And the missing piece on that Mike Elder needs is that space study.
Well, that was, as Mike indicated, when he gave his presentation, many of these things could be done over a long term
Right.
plan, which would not necessitate a massive increase in bonding.
Right.
And that's something I look forward to hearing.
So is he gonna present it to this group next month, or is he gonna give it to the county board?
It's gonna take a while to get to that, to figure out what that's.
So,
Not kidding, but all of a sudden now we're looking at 2, 3 months down the road.
yeah.
More.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I-
correct.
So what are you coming back with next month as far as on your part of it? Just the parks?
The parks and the space study.
But he's gonna be presenting the space study, doesn't he?
Correct. Yep. On the reason for it.
Not presenting the space study, asking for the money for the space study.
Hopefully both. To this board in March. At our next meeting.
So you're gonna request another study?
Yeah.
Or Mike's doing that?
Yes,
So where's that money coming out of? Yours?
yes. Yep, all the time. And I understand that I understand we don't know how elections go. I don't know if I'll win when I run again, but you don't base your decisions off. Like, it is what it is, and it's whoever job's in that seat at that time to make those decisions. That's the way it is, and I respect that. But to try to get through that top 50 and lock us into something that then we're in real trouble in 4 years when that bubble gets here, I think that's irresponsible. I understand the urgency to hop on this for our uses.
Well, it isn't just these sitting here, though, it's
Correct.
the whole board.
Yeah, right.
I get that. I think maybe we should have started maybe working on some of your end of it. And not on these. I think it would have kept their more, I don't know, attention more. Seeing that it was actually having someone going out into the county projects.
I will respectfully agree to disagree. I think we're doing it the right way. We have a strategic plan so we can base our priorities. We'll be having those soon. We got a facility condition assessment so we can understand what actually are the conditions that we're building and how many we have. And hopefully I'll have a master plan to say, are we actually as efficient as we possibly are? If there's ways for us to condense and get in the smaller buildings or can bring more people in here or to figure this out a little better way, that's the direction I want to go. If we're gonna face a bubble in 4 or 5 years, I want to make sure that we're doing it the best way possible. And if there's a bubble that we can't smooth out, and there's a year that we were looking at $15 million in bonding, I'd rather have that $5 million to cover it than bond for 15 million. And I understand the rush, but it takes time. None of this stuff was done before.
It's not a rush, but I think some of it could have been started before, so we weren't in this problem.
You don't have that flexibility to allocate the extra 5 million from the spirit fund.
I don't.
That's commission's job.
Correct. Yep. That's right. No, I agree.
Anyways,
Yeah, no, that's my proposal as county executive to say this is the best way to set us up. This is the best way to look forward to those bubbles. Give us time. It took time for the facility condition assessment to get done. And again, to Mike's credit, we have a lot of buildings that are in really good shape. This building's in good shape. Courthouse is our most energy efficient building. I would not have predicted
A lot
that.
of precast on the outside of that.
Right, yeah, so I guess it stays hot or it stays cold.
And all the new windows.
Yeah, new windows, yeah. I didn't expect that. But I mean, it took time for McKinstry to come through and do the facility condition assessment. It's taken time for Mike to really plan out what it all means. And the last thing that he's asked for is this plan, so.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, I think it's smart to do this now with, COVID and people working from home and making those decisions. It's a different world. People prove that they could do their jobs from home or hybrid, however that works. It's a different world, so I couldn't agree more with doing this and figuring out how the county works best and, we support our constituents.
And I just want to respond to that. Not everybody needs an office.
No,
We can do hotel offices. For the people that we added on human services and behavioral health for child welfare, we have 14 employees working up to 7 offices. They share, they do a hotel space. How many more of those can we do? Do we need all these spaces? I don't know if you walk through the human services building in Neenah. There's a lot of, I don't know if anybody's working every day, but there's a lot of empty space.
So you don't wanna make any county projects money available at this time for a different initiative, such as the fire truck for the airport.
Correct. I want to
You wanna
avoid,
bond that and put it on the levy.
I
What
wanna-
you wanna do,
yes,
even though we've got 14 million sitting there.
correct.
I want to explain that to my constituents.
So that we can bond for 10 million this year and 10 million next year and 10 million the year after that, 10 million the year after that. Otherwise, we could bond for 8 million this year, then 10, then 14, and then 22.
You're assuming 14 and 22 will pass, so that's quite a result. We
And they're all gonna
represent
fall apart.
people.
I agree.
We're the ones when the taxes go up that they complain to, so.
I agree.
I understand your predicament. I don't necessarily agree with the resolution. I need to think about this some more.
I respect that. Roofs, by the way, are something we cannot neglect.
Oh, I totally agree.
Right, and that is the point, Chuck, is making sure that we're keeping up with maintenance so they last forever. That courthouse lasts a long time. Right? It was built solid, right? Our highway department was not. Like, we should have called some people with the carpet on that. Why are these vapor locks not working,
Couldn't agree more.
right?
Yeah.
So we need to, if you put a solid roof on and you have a solid plan and you make a solid building, you don't have to replace it every 15 years. You shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Courthouse was built when?
1938.
38?
Yeah.
Still a solid building. Most energy efficient building we have. We need to get back to that as well. Any other discussion?
So next month, the agenda will be those presentations.
Yes. Yep. And then hopefully Nova needs to come back, right? Or no, Nova we sent through, right? So the YMCA, both YMCA's, anything that's left over as well, I want to make sure comes back to the next one. I want to get that bottom 50% clear out. All right, speaking of, we'll move on to the next meeting date, time, location. Do we have that picked, Cassie?
No, we do not.
We wanted March. More February. Yeah, one more February. Oh,
And it's very possible we'll have to have it upstairs because room 120 is booked quite a bit.
okay. We can make that, we can bring the owl up there, yeah?
What date do you want to put on this? I've got a con,
March 7th,
That's what we're looking at.
March what?
7th.
The whole March 7th, you're not gonna put it.
Yeah, no, it's PNF, yeah. Can we,
Can you do the 4th in the afternoon? Because this room is available in the afternoon.
PNF is in
On
the
Monday.
morning.
well, I was, what about the 6th? Wednesday?
That's
Can
in
we
the
get back to
morning, we can
Wednesday?
have this in the afternoon.
Let's get off of that.
Well,
I know, I
you can't go to more than one meeting a day?
Get paid
Wednesdays
for it?
work better for me if we can do the Wednesday.
Okay, I'm gonna put down because I'm gonna leave here in about 15 minutes to go to
We go to
ARPA.
You can't exceed 75
Right.
bucks. So you get 50 for the first one and 25 for the second.
one. All right, so how about the sixth, Wednesday, the sixth?
We'll have to do it upstairs, but
We could do that.
yeah, because that's open. I'm looking at it now.
2 hours of filling out
Wednesday.
paperwork.
Wednesday, the sixth? Wednesday work for you?
But no, I don't, whatever you guys decide, I'll make work.
Yeah,
What about the 11th to the 12th?
I mean, we're getting, when's the next board meeting?
Next board?
When is the
meeting's
March board
19th.
meeting? The 19th?
19th.
Yeah, so 11th and 12th won't work.
Right.
There's a special orders meeting, assuming you have it.
Special orders is on the
We'll have it,
5th.
probably.
Yeah, so
19th is the county board.
I think we go sixth, I think. would be-
6 will work for me. I'm fine.
6 seconds, wait.
Yeah.
All right,
Everybody, 6th.
all right, sixth, and that
6th it
meeting
is.
will be up fourth floor.
Yeah, it don't matter to me where you have it.
Just so you know, you gotta go, while you were at that meeting upstairs, Sarah.
Yeah.
1:00, yeah. And it's the training, and then the training one, yes.
Then 4.
That's by your workout room?
Training room, big training room.
It's a
Talk
lot of
about space
old
study.
tables and old chairs.
Yeah. Hey, we work with what we have, right?
Bring your own chair, huh?
Did you say 1:00?
1:00, yep.
March 6th.
March 6th, 1:00.
If I might comment, you're getting into things that have been addressed over the many years I've been on the board. There was an initiative by Executive Harris to have the board meetings here. But I'll give you an example. There was an initiative many years ago not to buy this building, but to renovate, Parkview Health Center and make that the community center. So a lot of these things have been evaluated. Scott, your initiative is perhaps a little more comprehensive. But,
It's gotta be data driven.
yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And I need buy-in from the board, right? You guys set policy and budget. So we have to make the case to you, and we need data to do that. Can't be off of gut checks, Has to be off of hard data. All right, do you have a motion to adjourn? Oh,
Can we afford it?
second, correct. All right, adjourn. Thank you all.
I got it.